A wealthy man finds his life transformed by the unexpected heroism of a woman without a home. Days later he brought her on board at his company, but her actions left him in disbelief, and a concealed truth she held altered the course of his life entirely. Before we embark on this narrative journey, please share your location in the comments below. We'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Delight in the tale. John Wick found himself at an event, but chose to make an early exit to stay clear of the lengthy, tedious speeches as he strolled towards his driver. Lost in thought, he unwittingly rounded a corner and soon discovered too late that he had wandered into an alley. Just as he contemplated retreat, three figures emerged, their expressions a blend of cunning and threat. What do we have here? A wealthy gentleman wandering into the less savory side of the neighborhood, one of them mocked. John maintained his composure, yet his heart pounded fiercely. He wasn't foolish. He understood they weren't there for casual conversation. Are you looking for some cash? He inquired, striving to maintain order in the situation. We first desire it all, the grand lifestyle, the timepiece, the money holder, the man remarked, moving in closer. Before John had the chance to reply, a commanding voice echoed from the far end of the alley. The authorities are en route. I recommend you depart before it becomes too late. The men glanced over to find a young woman poised before them, gripping a metal rod in her hand. Her attire was tattered, her visage reflected the brutal realities of street life, yet her resolve remained steadfast. And who are you to dictate our actions? One of them challenged, attempting to assert dominance over her. As he extended his hand toward the rod, she quickly delivered a blow to his head. I called the police, she stated with conviction. If you have any sense, you'll get out of here quickly. The men paused, uncertainty lingering in the air. The distant wail of sirens, though not meant for them, prompted the leader companions to share anxious looks. Let us proceed. It's not worth it, one of them whispered. This isn't over, rich boy, the leader threatened, vanishing into the shadows. Alongside the others, John remained in motionless, grappling with the reality of the moment that had just unfolded. At last his gaze locked onto hers, her grip on the rod unwavering. Did you actually contact the authorities? He inquired, a note of incredulity lacing his tone. She offered a subtle smile, gently lowering the rod. No, I don't even possess a phone. But that wasn't necessary for them to. No. JN paused, absorbing the weight of the moment and the truth of what had just occurred. The woman CL lad in tattered garments and bearing a weary look had been the one to rescue him from peril. Thank you, he said at last, shattering the stillness. No need to express gratitude. Just be more mindful of your surroundings, she said, already pivoting to depart. Yet there was something about her confidence, her indifference, that drew him in, urging him to speak once more. Hold on, he called out, moving closer to her. She paused and pivoted deliberately, as though she was already aware of his impending words. Please allow me the chance to repay your kindness and share your name with me. She regarded him, her eyes unwavering. I'm Layla, and my motivation wasn't financial gain. Even if I had, I question whether you could provide what I truly seek. So, what is it that you require? He couldn't quite understand the reason behind his persistence, yet there was a not undeniable allure about her that captivated him profoundly. She paused, contemplating the value of her response. At last, she uttered her thoughts, a fresh beginning. Yet I doubt that something you can offer. He furrowed his brow, his curiosity deepening in a spontaneous gesture. He retrieved a card from his pocket and extended it toward her. I go by the name John Wick. If you happen to reconsider, feel free to reach out. She paused, her gaze probing his for genuine intent. Before accepting the card, perhaps I shall, she remarked, tucking the card into her pocket before disappearing into the darkness. As 2 days slipped by, the vision of the young woman remained etched in John's thoughts. He convinced himself it was simply a matter of curiosity. After all, it wasn't an everyday occurrence for someone so surprising to enter his life. As he sifted through the reports in his office, a call from his receptionist broke the monotony of his routine. Mr. Wick, a lady, has arrived to speak with you, she claims. You are familiar with her. Uncertain of Ponsett what lay ahead, he descended to the lobby, There she stood, the very woman who had rescued him in the alley. However, at this moment she appeared more polished and wore a solemn demeanor. It's hard to fathom my presence in this situation yet. The circumstances left me with no alternatives. Your assistance would be greatly appreciated. Her voice held a steady resolve, yet he detected a subtle quiver revealing her uncertainty. John observed the young woman before him, experiencing the same intrigue that had captured him in the alley. There was an elusive quality about her, a certain intrigue that captivated him in ways he couldn't fully understand. He had grown accustomed to the requests of others, yet Lila stood apart. She appeared to hesitate in her presence, as though seeking assistance was her final option. What can I assist you with today? Layla. John folded his arms, upholding the composed attitude he frequently displayed during discussions. She paused briefly before responding. I am seeking employment, something that can provide me with a sense of stability as I embark on a new beginning. And since you mentioned I could reach out. She hesitated, weighing each word carefully. Present and accounted for. John paused to reflect, bringing on an unfamiliar face, in particular one emerging from the streets, and carried its share of risks, yet he was acutely aware that the instincts which had propelled him to the pinnacle of the Capendrome, the business realm, seldom let him down. His Notting 5 never, his Notting 5 house, instincts whispered that Lila was far from ordinary. Understood, he conveyed a serene assurance, typical of a seasoned leader. I currently have a position available for a personal assistant. The task is straightforward. Join me at events, oversee schedules, and take care of daily responsibilities. Are you confident in your ability to accomplish this? Layla gazed at him, her expression one of astonishment. It was evident that she was taken aback by the straightforward reply, much less by the generous proposal, yet her demeanor swiftly turned steely, as though she were bracing herself against the world. What makes you choose to offer me this chance? You don't even know me, Layla remarked. John offered a faint smile, recognizing your bravery, and he was eager to discover the path it and would lead you down. She fixed her gaze on him for a moment longer, then offered a slight nod. Understood, I will accept it. Layla commenced the following day. She arrived right on time at 7 inches the morning, dressed in modest attire that seemed to be either borrowed or thrifted. John greeted her as she entered his office, where the team was already immersed in their tasks. Presenting her to the group elicited expected responses, inquisitive stares, muted conversations, and a scattering of scornful expressions. Yet John remained indifferent. He understood that many in his company prioritized image over outcomes, while Lila had already demonstrated she possessed more than just a facade. She possessed unwavering resolve. This is your workspace. He guided her to a location close to his office, where a chair and computer awaited their presence. Begin by arranging the appointment Ms. for the week ahead. I desire a thorough and flawless presentation of information. Flawless. Understood. Layla responded with two kinds of the laugh within mining dested. Unexpected hint of sarcasm. John wore a subtle smirk. He found that enjoyable, and collaborating with someone unafraid to express their thoughts was quite engaging. As she started to get accustomed to the role, John watched her from afar. Layla demonstrated remarkable efficiency despite lacking corporate experience. She possessed an innate talent for rapid learning and adept problem-solving, yet he also perceived walls surrounding her, an indication that she was not prepared to reveal. During the lunch break, John discovered her in the break room, seated by herself and enjoying a sandwich she had brought in. Modest wrapping, he drew a chair closer and settled in across from her. How's everything progressing? He inquired. Excellent. It's simpler than I expected, she remarked. Excellent. If you require anything, please feel free to reach out. He took a moment before continuing. Just so you know, you really don't need to pack your own lunch. Okay, all employees can enjoy our buffet service. She glanced upward, cautious. I'm not here to exploit any advantages. All I desire is to fulfill my responsibilities. JN acknowledged her position with a nod, showing his respect. Yet deep down he pondered the duration it would take for Leah to understand that she need not remain vigilant constantly. As the days went by, Leah began to acclimate to her surroundings. She was effective in her work, yet maintained a certain aloofness from those around her. John included that didn't prevent her from making a mark. In the midst of a pivotal meeting with investors, she identified a significant mistake in the financial reports and rectified it before it caught anyone else's attention. Her accuracy captivated, aided even the most seasoned professionals. Following the meeting, J.N. summoned her to his office. "Your actions made a significant impact today." He motioned for her to take a seat. "What led you to notice that error so swiftly?" Layla offered a faint smile, yet a trace of melancholy lingered in her gaze. "I once had a knack for numbers, but then everything unraveled." John chose not to delve deeper. He understood that she would speak when the time was right for her, yet that fleeting insight into Layla's history only intensified his intrigue. Even with the advancements made, the different journey was not without its challenges. Certain colleagues were quite open about their biases against Layla. One afternoon, while departing from the office, she caught snippets of a conversation between two employees. "What do you suppose she did to land this position? Perhaps she possesses some leverage over the boss. There's no doubt he brought her on board solely for her talents." Leah paused in the hallway, yet she refrained from looking back. Instead, she inhaled deeply and continued on her path. She understood that confronting them would yield no benefit, yet their words echoed persistently in her thoughts. The following day, John observed something out of the ordinary. In the midst of a conversation regarding a significant project, one of the employees who had previously criticized Layla attempted to undermine her perspective. Nevertheless, Leah remained steadfast. "If my idea seems unclear, I'm happy to clarify it further. Or would you rather I simply concur with all your statements?" She smiled, yet her tone carried an unmistakable challenge. John observed the scene, feeling a blend of pride and admiration wash over him. Layla exemplified courage skillfully, navigating challenges while maintaining her poise. That evening, John lingered at the office well into the night. As he sifted through the reports, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. He glanced upward and noticed Layla poised at the entrance. "Are you still around?" he inquired, taken aback. "I appreciate the opportunity you've provided me. I understand it wasn't simple for you," she remarked. John inclined his head, observing her intently. "You're exceeding my expectations, but I have a feeling there's more to you than what I've witnessed so far," he remarked. She released a gentle chuckle. "Perhaps you have a point." As she turned to leave, John experienced a sensation that had long eluded him: anticipation. Layla stood apart from everyone else present. As time passed, Layla's influence within John's company began to unfold in surprising ways. She approached her tasks with unwavering concentration and remarkable efficiency, yet her candid demeanor and introverted nature rendered her an enigma to those around her. John watched her intently, fascinated by how someone with so little could navigate the TEP's corporate landscape with such ease. He sensed that Layla was concealing something, yet he wasn't one to pry. He favored allowing events to progress in their own way. Yet, in the midst of a typical afternoon meeting with his team, Layla caught him off guard. "Once more, Mr. Wick, before we move forward with the proposal, I observed a clause here that might lead to legal issues later on," she remarked, indicating a specific detail in the plus. The document all sound vanished from the room. Every gaze was fixed upon her, accompanied by a murmur of hushed remarks. After all, what gave her the right to highlight a mistake in such a crucial meeting? John, intrigued, leaned in to scrutinize what Layla had pointed out. After a brief pause, he nodded. Deliberately, he glanced at the others and affirmed, "She's right. Addressing this issue promptly is crucial to avoid the potential complications down the line." Even in silence, their responses spoke volumes. Some appeared captivated, while others seemed uneasy. Layla, on the other hand, maintained her poise. Following the meeting, John summoned her to his office. "Your attention to detail is impressive. Where did you acquire that knowledge?" he inquired, gently shutting the door behind him. Layla paused briefly before responding. She mentioned her proficiency with contracts and numbers, but her vague tone suggested she was sidestepping the details that's beyond mere excellence. "You noticed something that escaped everyone else's attention, including my legal team." John folded his arms, observing her intently. There's a depth to you that you're not fully revealing, isn't there? Lila averted her eyes, remaining silent. The stillness that ensued spoke volumes, as if it conveyed more than any spoken words ever could. John chose to hold back. He understood that the answers would reveal themselves when the moment was right. Later that week, JN received an invitation to a charity event and chose to bring Lila as his esteemed guest. He sought to challenge her in a setting where decorum and formalities held equal weight to the business at hand. Have you ever attended an event of this nature? He inquired as they strolled toward the main hall. Not quite, she responded, her eyes wandering. With interest, the hall exuded elegance, adorned with shimmering crystal chandeliers and flawlessly arranged tables. Attendees donned lavish garments and conversed in muted whispers, fostering an atmosphere of sophistication. JN observed Leah subtly, attempting to interpret her responses. To my astonishment, she appeared quite comfortable, even though her attire lacked sophistication. Layla exuded an air of elegance, as if she were perfectly at home in the surroundings. As they and so neared a table brimming with influential investors, John received courteous smiles and firm handshakes. He presented Lila as his assistant, and to his astonishment, she managed to hold her own assertively. Engaging in the discussion, one of the investors remarked, clearly impressed by Leah's insights, "You've got a sharp team, John. I always select the finest individuals," John responded, his eyes resting on Lila as the evening wore on. JN took a moment to step aside and fetch a drink. Upon his return, he discovered Lila engaged in conversation with an older woman who appeared to be especially captivated by her. "So what's your connection to John?" the woman inquired, her smile warm and courteous. Leah paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. She understood that disclosing the entire truth was not an option. "I've only been working as his assistant for a brief period," she responded, maintaining a composed demeanor. "How can I assist you?" Fascinating. Your demeanor suggests familiarity, as if you've navigated a setting like this in the past. Layla remained silent, yet the remark echoed in her thoughts. After the conversation wrapped up, she spotted John by the bar. "It seems that people have a penchant for dissecting every little detail, wouldn't you agree?" she spoke, attempting to alleviate the strain. "It's all part of the game," he said, offering her a glass of water. "However you managed it admirably." Layla offered a subtle smile and shifted the conversation, yet John sensed an underlying mystery in her, a history that remained unresolved. The following morning, as John settled into his office routine, he began to delve into Lila's background. He was uncertain about what he sought, yet a deep desire for answers stirred within him. After a bit of exploration, he stumbled upon something that piqued his interest, a vintage piece detailing the downfall of an elite and family ensnared in a catastrophic financial scandal. At the heart of the narrative was a young woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to Lila. He printed the article, saving it for a later discussion with her that afternoon. As they sorted through documents in his office, Layla accidentally let a photo slip from her hands. As she extended her hand to retrieve it, John observed something intriguing. A portrait captured a young woman standing alongside an elegant couple, the very same young woman he had encountered in the article. "Who is this?" John inquired, gesturing towards the photograph. With swift hands, Layla grasped the envelope, carefully sliding the photo back into its confines. "Nothing of significance." Her voice carried a sense of conviction, yet John observed a subtle tremor in her hands. "I discovered something today," he said, presenting her with the printed article. "So you're Leah Reed, part of the Reed family, right?" Leah stood still. For a brief instant, it seemed she was weighing the choice between denial and the revelation of the truth. After a brief pause, she inhaled deeply. "Indeed, I am, or at the very least I used to be." JN gazed at Leah, gripping the article tightly, his voice steady despite the palpable tension surrounding them. Layla cast a fleeting glance at the document before averting her gaze, as though the words on the page held the power to reopen old wounds. "What made you keep this to yourself?" he inquired, his voice unwavering, reminiscent of the manner he adopted for pivotal business choices. Layla inhaled deeply once more, as if summoning the strength to face an uncomfortable reality. Because that chapter has closed for me, her voice, though measured, bore a significance. John. Understood. My family has lost it all. John, in those moments you discover the importance of moving forward and letting go of what once was. John placed the article on the desk, his gaze lingering on her. Moving on from what has been is one thing, but this emotion toward the Titan article, this sheds light on your family's decline, yet it fails to clarify how you found yourself living on the Weiss streets. Leah pursed her lips, a clear sign of her uncertainty. Following a brief pause, she at last broke the silence. My father made an effort to maintain a facade as everything crumbled around us. Upon recognizing the impending collapse, he resolved to transform me into a crease of remedy. John furrowed his brow, a look of bewilderment crossing his face. Is there a resolution? A marriage was arranged for me, Layla stated sharply, her tone laced with frustration. I was meant to be present for one of the investors, an individual capable of providing the necessary funds to rescue the company. Her words lingered in the atmosphere, carrying the weight of an unchangeable decision. John was unable to conceal his astonishment. He had witnessed shrewd and detached business choices, but employing his own daughter as a pawn crossed every imaginable boundary. Ah, so you decided to escape? Indeed I did. She folded her arms tightly as though attempting to guard herself against the weight of haunting recollections. I departed before the moment slipped away, yet escaping carries its own cost. I discovered that through experience. John took his time before responding. He grasped the experience of maturing beneath overwhelming family demands, yet he had never encountered anything quite so intense. He observed her intently, seeking to discern the words that would resonate with her. In that instant, the piece indicates that the downfall of your family began with a terminated agreement from one of my businesses. He hesitated, selecting phrases with precision. What was your level of awareness regarding that? Layla blinked, taken aback for a brief instant. It felt as though he had expressed something completely unfamiliar to her. Silence. I was never quite certain about the events that unfolded. She appeared sincere, yet there was a hint of uncertainty in her tone. What resonated with me were my father's words, lamenting how our business partners deserted us in our time of greatest need. The room was once more enveloped in silence. John experienced a surge of unease. He was not one to evade responsibility, yet in that instant he understood there was a genuine possibility he had played a part, even if indirectly, in the decline of life. This young woman. Later that evening, John made his way to his office. He rummaged through forgotten drawers and digital files that had gathered dust over the years, on a quest for elusive answers. After hours of diligent searching, he finally unearthed an old report. It stemmed from a merger that took place early in his tenure as CEO. Within the stipulations, a resolution was made to end agreements with lesser firms that failed to produce outcomes. Among those companies was Reed Enterprises. The document featured insights from external financial consultants, highlighting the necessity for objective decisions to maintain the merger's profitability. John acknowledged his signature on the final page, endorsing the actions taken. He shut his eyes, briefly overwhelmed by a swirl of guilt and frustration. Although it wasn't a conscious choice, he understood that as the leader, the final accountability rested on his shoulders. Now he found himself at a loss for how to convey this to Layla. He feared she might never find it in her heart to forgive him in the days that ensued. Layla observed that John seemed more subdued than normal. Though typically quiet, he now appeared remote, absorbed in his own reflections. She sensed that discovering details about her family had unsettled him, yet she decided against probing further. Their relationship rested on a delicate base, and any additional strain could disturb the problem. Modest progress they had made in the civil days that followed. John appeared increasingly resolute in his desire to assist her. He began assigning fewer responsibilities to the team, opting instead to collaborate directly with Layla on significant projects. It seemed he was driven to atone for previous errors by supporting her journey to success. Here's the draft of the new hotel project, Layla said, setting the papers down on JK's desk. He gathered them meticulously examining the notes. "Outstanding effort," John remarked, taking a moment to gaze at her. "It's clear that you possess a remarkable gift for this. Wouldn't you agree?" Layla offered a faint smile, steering clear of the subject. I signed, smile. Simply aimed to give it my all, yet John sensed that there was something deeper at play. Layla was not merely efficient. She appeared resolute in her quest to demonstrate something, whether to herself or perhaps to the broader world later. That week, as she sifted through old company files for a project, Leah stumbled upon a folder that piqued her interest, a collection of comprehensive financial documents all pertaining to the time when her family encountered bankruptcy. Within the pages she discovered something that quickened her pulse, a memo bearing John's signature. The communication highlighted the significance of implementing cost reduction strategies and ending agreements with companies that are not meeting performance expectations. Layla experienced a tumultuous blend of disbelief and fury. It wasn't merely a flasked, bureaucratic choice, it was a verdict that transformed her existence. With determination, she seized the papers and made her way directly to John's office. Upon her entrance, he was engaged in a phone conversation, but promptly concluded the call upon noticing her presence. "Is that you, Layla? What's happening?" She set the documents on his desk, arms crossed, her gaze fixed intently on him. "You were aware?" Her voice remained composed, yet it carried an undercurrent of sorrow. "You understood the implication of those decisions for businesses like mine?" JN glanced at the papers and instantly identified the memo. He inhaled deeply before crafting his response. He met her gaze, a hint of realization in his eyes. "I didn't grasp the full impact, Layla," he admitted. "In that moment, my focus was solely on the figures, on maintaining the company's stability. And what of the individuals?" she inquired, her tone revealing unmistakable frustration. "Have you considered the families that would be impacted?" Hesitated before responding. He understood that any attempt at explanation would ring empty. At that moment, "I can't alter the past," he finally stated, "but I'm here to assist you in moving ahead." Layla shut her eyes, briefly seeking to find her inner peace. She understood his honesty, yet it remained difficult to come to terms with. The fact that her suffering stemmed from such unfeeling choices. "I have no interest in charity, JN." Her voice took on a gentler quality, yet retained its strength. "I seek to comprehend why individuals like you believe they can determine the destinies of others without reflecting on the repercussions." John was taken aback by that response. He understood that Layla was probing deeper than mere reflections on the past. She was attempting to grasp the reasoning behind a reality she had not selected. "Indeed," he replied, taking his time and collecting his words with precision. "One, acknowledge my past mistakes, yet I am striving to embrace change, moving forward." Leah remained silent, yet a flicker in her expression indicated a growing belief in his intentions, though she still grappled with the challenge of fully trusting him. That evening, while John sifted through a stack of old reports, he stumbled upon something surprising in the collection of notes. From the board meetings, one name stood out to him: Raymond Carter. Raymond was the investor who years prior played a pivotal role in the merger that resulted in the termination of smaller contracts, including those of Reed Enterprises. At that moment, John had placed his faith in Raymond's suggestions and the counsel of his advisors. Yet now, as he examined the particulars, he detected something out of the ordinary. A mismatch existed between the figures Raymond had put forth and the reality of what had transpired. It seemed that the choices had been skewed to favor a particular set of investors at the expense of others. John shut the report, his thoughts swirling. He recognized Raymond as a cunning strategist, yet he had never considered the possibility that he could have deliberately undermined smaller companies to boost his own gains. The following morning, JN summoned Layla to his office. He understood that no matter how challenging it could be, she was entitled to know what he had uncovered. "Leah," he handed her the report, saying, "There's something I need to show you." She examined it closely, her gaze sharpening as she contemplated the underlying meanings. "So, it turns out Raymond Carter was the one responsible for this," she inquired, grappling with the reality of the words before her. Indeed, John acknowledged with a nod. He skillfully twisted the information to rationalize the termination of agreements and secure his own financial gain. Leah sensed a surge of anger rising within her. The name Raymond Carter resonated with a sense of familiarity. He was the investor her father had fervently sought to engage with before everything unraveled. She spoke with a low voice, heavy with emotion. He knew this would tear my family apart. John observed her, recognizing the intense struggle she faced in trying to contain her anger from overtaking her. He stated that he would handle this. In what way? Layla confronted him, locking eyes with determination. This occurred many years back. What are your current capabilities? John offered her a subtle smile, yet his eyes reflected an unwavering resolve, greater than you realize. In the days that followed, John started to take measures to reveal Raymond's deeds. He leveraged his connections and influence to spark inquiries into the contracts. From that period, Layla observed his journey intently, caught in a conflict between doubt and optimism. What is the reason behind this action? She inquired during a secluded moment. The price is the win. Simply the right course of action, he D'Artanger responded. Leah found herself at a loss, uncertain of how to interpret the situation. In spite of it all, she felt that John genuinely sought to rectify the errors of his past, yet she understood that it would not suffice to wipe away the scars. The inquiry into Raymond Carter began as a subtle examination of archived corporate documents. What began as a standard process of investigation swiftly attracted the notice of prominent individuals within the field. Carter's name started to emerge in hush discussions, and it became evident that there was a palpable fear surrounding the potential fallout from his shadowy history coming to light. John understood that delving back into past controversies would ignite conflict. He had encountered formidable opponents in the past, yet even he was taken aback by the intensity of Raymond's response. In just a few days, John found himself inundated with anonymous messages and peculiar phone calls, unmistakable signals that someone was intent on delivering a message. It was easy to figure out who it was. Layla, on the other hand, was torn within herself. She, Placey, of resting, respected John's resolve to pursue righteousness, yet she felt a deep concern that he was endangering himself for something she had long reconciled as an unfortunate aspect of her history. You really don't need to go through with this, John, she remarked one evening while they were going over the documents. I don't have to, but I want to, he replied, his voice steady and sure. Even if I can only mend a fraction of the harm I've done, it's still worthwhile. Layla understood that arguing would lead nowhere. A shift had occurred within John, a change she couldn't overlook. He had transformed from the aloof figure she had encountered at first. The transformed version of him was fueled by a sense of justice she had never anticipated witnessing. A few days later, as Leah sorted through the files in Jay's office, she stumbled upon something peculiar. An unadorned envelope devoid of any sender details rested on his desk. It was a presence that had not existed prior, and since her arrival the office had remained untouched by anyone else. Intrigued, she carefully peeled open the envelope and discovered a fresh photograph of herself inside. Accompanying the photo was a succinct yet menacing message. Keep your distance, or we all face the consequences. Leah experienced a shiver coursing through and her body. The danger was unmistakable, and the sender was fully aware of the situation at hand. She seized the photo and marched directly to JN, cutting into his meeting with the company's directors. It's time for a conversation now, she declared with conviction, disregarding the inquisitive glances from those around her. John waved off the directors and trailed after Lila to his office. As soon as the door clicked shut, she revealed the envelope along with the photograph. This was left on your desk, she said, striving to maintain her composure. John scrutinized the contents, his demeanor shifting to one of gravity. This validates my worst fears, he remarked, flinging the photo onto the desk. Carter is aware that we are nearing the truth, and he's attempting to instill fear in USA, added John. I think we should stop this. It's not worth it. He looked at her, his determination unwavering. It is worth it if anyone thinks they can intimidate you or stop Me with threats they're underestimating how much this matters. Leah wanted to insist, but she knew John wouldn't back down. There was a stubbornness in him that, while frustrating, was also admirable. As John delved deeper into his investigation, Layla started noticing something odd. He was spending more and more time in the office, sometimes reviewing documents late into the night. She couldn't understand how he managed to stay focused, but began to realize he seemed to be carrying a heavier burden than he let on. One evening, while they worked together, Lila broke the silence. "Why is this so important to you, John?" she asked, looking at him from across the table. "It's not just about fixing mistakes, is it?" John paused for a moment, as if carefully choosing his words. "It's about who I want to be, Layla. For so long, I only cared about numbers, about success. But meeting you made me realize there's more to life than that." Layla stayed quiet, absorbing his words. There was something genuine in his tone, a vulnerability she hadn't expected. "Do you think it will change anything?" she asked softly. "Maybe not for everyone, but for you, I hope it will." Days later, as John had worked with his lawyers to gather evidence against Carter, something unexpected happened. He received a call from an unknown number. "Wick," a deep voice said on the other end. "You're treading on thin ice. Step back while you have the chance." Carter. John instantly identified the voice. "There's so much at stake for you, John. I conversely am already aware all of the path to victory. Don't push me to reveal my true potential." John held the phone firmly, maintaining a calm tone. "I have no fear of you, Carter. Go ahead and do your best, but I'm committed to seeing this through to the end." The conversation concluded suddenly, yet John was acutely aware that the danger was genuine. Carter was not the type to play games, and now this had evolved into something far beyond mere business. That evening, as Layla meticulously examined the process documents one final time, she stumbled upon a revelation that would alter the course of her life. A contract was signed, and by Carter, outlining not just the financial reductions, but also a broader plan to obtain shares of Reed Enterprises at a significantly lower value than their true worth. She hurried to John with the contract, her hands shaking as she clutched the document. "Take a look at this." Her voice resonated with deep feeling. John scrutinized the contract, his gaze sharpening with each line he absorbed. "This is sufficient proof," he finally declared. "We can utilize this to reveal everything." Leah acknowledged, yet apprehension was clear in her demeanor. "What if he attempts to harm you, John? He is already making threats against us." John offered a subtle smile, aware that her worry was justified. "No need to concern yourself with my well-being. I've always understood that confronting individuals like Carter carries its own set of dangers." Layla wished to trust in his readiness, yet beneath the surface a worry gnawed at her about the potential outcomes. With every day that went by, the tension mounted. The gantry, menacing threats directed at JN and Lila, or Raymond Carter's relentless determination to safeguard his hidden truths at any cost. As John stood firm, Leah's anxiety was palpable. The man who had been her greatest support was now putting everything on the line, and she found herself grappling with the fear of losing him. One afternoon, while they meticulously examined the final documents in a cozy office, a sudden commotion erupted from downstairs. The sound surged through the air, igniting a pulse of adrenaline reminiscent of a weighty object crashing down. John gazed at Lila, who appeared to be in a state of paralysis. "Stay here," he said swiftly, rising to investigate the commotion. "John, please stop." Lila attempted to intervene, yet he was already making his exit from the room. As John made his way downstairs, he discovered the front door ajar, swaying gently with the breeze. The floor was littered with papers, giving the impression that the room had been and hastily searched. A glimmer of intrigue captured his attention. In the center of the room lay a note affixed to a broken picture frame. "This serves as your caution. Cease immediately." John inhaled, deeply striving to keep his frustration in check. He ascended once more to the Dayland office where Lila awaited him. "Could it have been Carter?" she inquired the moment he entered. John passed her the note in silence, the air thick with unspoken words. Layla perused the text and sensed a tightening in her gut. They were toying with danger, and Carter was unmistakably signaling that he wouldn't shy away from intensifying the situation. This has to stop, JN, Layla said firmly, her voice tinged with a hint of desperation. I wish to protect you from any pain related to this, Leah. This goes beyond your perspective. It revolves around the multitude of individuals who have been affected by Carter's actions. John's eyes met hers, brimming with resolve. This man must face the consequences of his actions. She understood that engaging in an all-too-very diva argument was futile. John was resolute, and nothing could sway his determination. Still, the anxiety of what could befall and him consumed her thoughts that evening. Leah found herself at John's grand estate. He firmly believed it was best for her to stay there until everything was sorted out, yet the security of the home failed to soothe her restless mind as John focused on his documents below. Layla meandered through the living room, her hands shook and a weight pressed down on her chest. She could no longer ignore the plight. Truth she found herself developing, feelings for him that took her by surprise. John was more than just an employer. He was a pivotal figure in her journey of rebuilding her life. He was evolving into something greater, resolute. In her decision to face her emotions, she descended the stairs and discovered John, settled in an armchair, engrossed in his laptop. His concentration was so intense that her presence went unnoticed until her voice broke through the silence. This burden is too heavy for you to bear by yourself, John. He glanced upward, taken aback by the inflection in her voice. I have company. I possess you. The phrases were straightforward, yet they crashed over Layla like a tidal wave. She moved in, closer, and settled into the armchair beside him. What if something were to occur to you? Her voice came out softer than she had meant it. To John paused, contemplating his response before finally speaking. Nothing is going to be to occur. Yes, Leah yearned to trust him, yet she understood that such promises were often difficult to uphold. She let out a soft sigh, inclining her body just a bit forward. John, I'm not quite sure how we arrived at this point, but there's a bond between us that's difficult to articulate. John gazed at her, his demeanor becoming gentler. He shut the laptop and placed it to the side. I sense it as well, and despite my efforts to understand it, the reality is the how or why holds no significance. What truly counts is that it's unfolding. Layla experienced a wave of feeling as he spoke. For a brief instant, the burdens of threats and issues dissipated, revealing solely the bond that united them. John extended his hand toward hers, and she willingly accepted it. Leah, I'm uncertain about where this journey will take us, but I want you to understand that my feelings for you run deeper than they ever have. For anyone else, she took a deep breath, struggling to hold back her emotions. Your well-being matters to me as well, John. In that fleeting moment, they lingered in silence, their hands intertwined. The outside world seemed to fade away, leaving only the essence of the moment. The following day, John got a call from a significant legal associate. The case against Carter was thoroughly compiled and poised for presentation in court. John understood that this would strike Carter hard, yet it also signaled that the ultimate showdown was approaching. After hanging up the phone, John informed Layla that they had everything they required. Carter is like this, destined to be revealed, and there's no way for him to prevent it. Layla experienced a blend of relief and concern. What comes next? I now submit this to the appropriate authorities. He offered her a subtle smile, yet Carter is determined to stand his ground. Preparation is essential, Layla nodded, though uncertainty lingered in her mind about how they could brace themselves for something so unpredictable. She was aware of the peril that Carter posed, yet she had faith in Jay's resolve as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across the grand mansion. John readied himself to present the evidence. Suddenly, a car glided to a stop in front of the stand. Imposing structure, the doorbell chimed, and a security guard revealed the presence of an unanticipated guest. John approached the door and discovered a man, clad in a luxurious suit. He instantly identified the visage. It was one of Carter's legal representatives. Wick, Carter has requested that I convey a personal message to you. The man passed him an envelope and departed in silence. John tore open the envelope right then, and there within lay a solitary sentence. Proceeding ahead may lead to consequences beyond your imagination. JN gripped the paper firmly, his expression revealing nothing. He recognized Carter's attempt to intimidate him once more, but this time he stood his ground. Upon re-entering, he discovered Lila perched in the living room, her anxiety palpable. "What was it?" she inquired. He shook his Vong's head, placing the note on the table. A clear indication of yet another looming threat. However, the moment has passed for him now. Lila remained silent, the gravity of the situation bearing heavily upon her. She sensed that the moment of reckoning with Carter was approaching, and afterward everything would change forever. The atmosphere in John's mansion, it was thick with tension. The impending confrontation with Carter loomed ever nearer, and although John remained steadfast in his determination, Layla was haunted by an unsettling premonition that disaster was on the horizon. The following morning, John got ready to present the documents to the district attorney. It was a pivotal moment, and he understood that he could not postpone it any further. Layla observed him from afar, her saint stomach twisting in anxiety. "Are you certain you want to go through with this today?" she inquired, her tone laced with concern. "We have no other option," Lila JN said, smoothing out his jacket. "Carter has already demonstrated his potential. With each passing moment, his threat intensifies." Lila felt the urge to dispute, yet deep down she recognized the truth in his words. Yet the dread of potential consequences loomed over him, nearly immobilizing his every thought. "Exercise caution if you would." Her voice nearly faltered, yet she maintained his gaze. John offered her a gentle smile, attempting to provide comfort. "Yes, you." Several hours later, as John made his way to the district attorney's office, Leah remained at the mansion, her mind drifting and unable to concentrate on anything. She attempted to divert her attention, yet her mind continually drifted back to John and the peril he was embracing. Suddenly something unforeseen occurred. The piercing sound of tires screeching at the mansion's entrance drew her focus. Before she had a chance to respond, a group of men burst into the property. Lila attempted to flee, but she was trapped before she could make it to the rear exit. "Where is Wick?" one of the men insisted, holding her firmly. "I'm not sure," she responded. The man appeared skeptical, yet rather than probing her and any deeper, he issued a command to the others: "Seize her. He will be there." And for her, Leah found herself compelled into a dark van and whisked away as JN concluded his meeting with the district attorney. A call came in that would alter the course of his life forever. The tone emanating from the other end was icy and menacing. "Wick, we have your girl in our possession. If you wish to see her once more, you'll need to set aside all matters concerning those documents." John felt a surge of anger, yet he maintained his calm demeanor. "Where could she be?" The voice chuckled softly, asserting, "You're not in a position to ask questions. I will return with further guidance. Please refrain from making any unwise decisions." The connection was lost. Before John had a chance to reply, he held the phone with such intensity that it felt as if he might shatter it. He was certain Carter was the mastermind behind this, and every second counted as Lila found herself confined within the desolate walls of an abandoned warehouse. She focused on maintaining her composure. She was certain John would arrive for her. She scanned her surroundings, hoping to find something that might aid her in fleeing, yet the guards surrounding her offered no chance for an escape. Yet her thoughts surged forward. Should she fail to discover an escape, her only option would be to delay until John made his entrance. In the meantime, John Lever leveraged all his contacts. He followed the van's final trail, uncovering hints that guided him to the warehouse where Lila was confined. However, rather than bringing in the authorities, he chose to handle it himself. He understood that Carter would not think twice about causing Lila harm if he sensed he was trapped. Upon his arrival, John meticulously assessed the surroundings. Prior to taking action, he noticed two men standing at the entrance, drawing on his background in intense scenario. He skillfully approached without attracting attention. Within the confines of the warehouse, Layla detected the sound of footsteps, and her senses heightened. One of the men stepped outside to investigate the disturbance, but never came back. She sensed that something was unfolding as the door swung open. John stepped inside, his gaze fixed intently On her John, she cried out, her voice trembling with a blend of relief and apprehension. It's all right, I'm going to get you out of this place, he said, his tone steady yet resolute. Just as they were about to depart, Carter emerged, accompanied by 2 additional men. Wick, it seems you have an endless determination, don't you? Carter remarked. With a sardonic grin. Release her, Carter. This ends now, John declared resolutely, holding his position even though he faced a greater number. Carter chuckled, but before he had the chance to reply, Layla took advantage of the opportunity. She pushed a nearby stack of crates, creating a diversion, seizing the moment. John took Lila's hand and guided her away, ensuring they escaped before additional reinforcements could close in returning. To the mansion, Leah felt a mix of unease and relief. JN, on the other hand, appeared to be more concentrated than ever. Has it come to an end? She inquired, her voice quivering just a bit. Not yet, John responded, gazing into the horizon. However, Carter is adrift at this point. We possess all the necessary elements to guarantee that he poses no further threat to anyone. Leah gazed at him, her face reflecting a blend of appreciation and a more profound emotion. John, I truly appreciate your unwavering support. He faced her, his gaze betraying an uncommon fragility. I will always stand by you. Layla, in a spontaneous gesture, she wrapped her arms around him and he welcomed her with an embrace. In that fleeting instant, the world outside faded away, leaving only the profound sense of their togetherness and safety. The word about the clash between John and Rayon Carter circulated swiftly among the business community. Although Carter had not been officially charged, the revelation of his schemes was beginning to undermine his power. The collection of documents and evidence that John had meticulously assembled was now entrusted to the authorities, and the prosecutor exuded confidence that Carter would soon confront the repercussions of his deeds. In the grand expanse of John's mansion, Layla found herself grappling with the nuances of her transformed existence. Even with a sense of security restored, the emotional burden of what had transpired continued to haunt her. Whenever she reflected on the possibilities of what might have transpired, a constriction gripped her chest, yet John remained close, ensuring she felt the comfort of companionship. You ought to take a break, he remarked one evening, discovering her immersed in contracts and reports. I am unable to do that. Layla let out a weary sigh, her fingers gently massaging her temples. It seems there's an endless list of tasks, with always something lingering, waiting to be completed. JN approached and placed a steaming cup of tea on her desk. You don't have to bear this burden by yourself, Lila. I have arrived. She gazed at him, and for a fleeting instant, she permitted herself to unwind. I appreciate all that you've done. JN. The following day, John's lawyer delivered a significant update. Carter attempted to leverage his influence to postpone the case, yet the evidence stacked against him was insurmountable. His web of connections was starting to unravel, and he found himself feeling more and more trapped. The attorney cautioned that he would attempt to escape AP before the police truth is revealed. We must ensure he remains present before the trial. John nodded, fully aware that the conclusion was approaching. He had encountered influential individuals in the past, but none matched the sheer ruthlessness of Carter. In the meantime, Leah chose to return to the shelter where she had once found refuge. Before crossing paths with John, she sensed a longing to revisit that chapter of her existence. Despite the hurt it brought at the shelter, she came across faces and towels that rekindled her motivation to reconstruct her life. A young woman named Mia stepped forward, clutching a worn blanket in her hands. Are you Ilila? Mia inquired, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. I overheard the others discussing you, how you managed to escape this place and transform everything. Leah beamed, her heart warmed by the sentiment. Indeed, Mia, yet I am still in the process of transformation. The dialogue with Mia sparked a flame within Lila. Once more she understood that her path was not solely about beginning anew, but also about supporting those who found themselves in the same place she once was, within the grand confines of the mansion. Layla unveiled her concept to JN. Her aspiration was to establish a refuge for individuals facing homelessness. She expressed her thoughts with a spark of excitement acknowledging the ambition is behind the idea while believing in its potential to succeed. I can handle it. I have experienced it firsthand and understand what these individuals require. JN absorbed every word, captivated by her fervor and resolve. Believe it's a fantastic idea, he remarked, a smile spreading across his face. I will ensure you have every resource at your disposal. Layla felt a wave of surprise wash over her at his swift support, accompanied by a profound sense of gratitude. With John by her side, she felt a surge of confidence that the project could truly thrive as the plans for the shelter unfolded. John got a message from the prosecutor. Carter faced official charges, and his arrest loomed on the horizon. The sense of relief washed over him instantly. Yet John understood that the struggle was far from finished. Carter was a perilous figure, and even from his confinement he could seek vengeance. That evening, JN and Lila found themselves in the garden, engaged in a conversation about what lay ahead. The gentle breeze whispered through the leaves, while the trees danced softly, crafting an enchanting ambience all around. What are your next steps, now that it's concluded? Layla inquired, her gaze fixed on him. John paused, lost in thought, as he considered her question. I believe it's time for me to truly embrace life, he remarked with a light chuckle. I've dedicated so much energy to metrics, commerce, and earnings that I've lost sight of what it means to truly save her life. Leah smiled, yet a profound depth lingered in her gaze. And you? He inquired, redirecting the question toward her. What follows? She inhaled deeply, her eyes fixed on the twinkling stars above. I wish to concentrate on the shelter, yet I also seek to discover my own space. She hesitated for a moment, then turned her gaze towards him. I believe that space encompasses you. John sensed his heart quicken. He sensed a unique connection between them, but hearing it from Layla solidified all the emotions he had been experiencing. Leah, you are the greatest gift in my life, he said gently. Grasping her hand, I long to stand beside you, regardless of what the future holds. Her smile radiated warmth, and her eyes sparkled with deep emotion. The dread and doubt she had held on to for ages started to dissipate. After a long time, she sensed the possibility of a genuine future, one crafted alongside someone who genuinely cared. Several weeks later, the shelter had its grand opening. The inauguration unfolded seamlessly, marking a notable achievement. Visitors, including reporters, benefactors, and community leaders, toured the facility, expressing admiration for the collaborative efforts of Lila and John. For Lila, this moment marked a pivotal achievement, representing not only her dedication to aiding countless individuals, but also serving as a testament to her triumph over her own history. John remained close to her during the event, observing as she fervently discussed the project and the significance of offering individuals a second opportunity. He understood that Lila had discovered her calling, which only deepened the appreciation of her unique essence. You look incredible today, John murmured as she wrapped up her conversation with a reporter. Thank you, Layla said with a smile, her eyes sparkling with a depth of emotion. Beyond mere gratitude, it was authentic joy, a sensation she hadn't experienced in ages. In the days that ensued as the shelter commenced its operations, Leia and JN at last found a sense of tranquility. The case against Carter progressed, and with the substantial evidence JN presented, authorities froze Carter's assets and initiated a thorough investigation into his other transactions. Only a few days passed before Carter found himself in handcuffs. This signified the conclusion of Raymond Carter's reign. Nonetheless, John understood that his confrontation with Carter transcended mere justice. It was equally about safeguarding Lila. He was determined to safeguard their lives from any future threats. He can no longer contact us, correct? One evening as they strolled through the mansion's garden, Layla inquired. No, John said, taking her hand. He has exhausted all his strength, and even if he attempted to fight back, we stand united now. Leah gazed at him, feeling the genuine emotion behind his words. For the first time, she felt a sense of security enveloping them. As time passed, the bond between Leela and JN deepened significantly. A profound bond existed between them, transcending the circumstances that had united their paths. Layla, who once perceived John as a frigid and aloof figure, now recognized someone who had discovered meaning. Alongside her one day, Leah found herself in the garden cradling a cup of tea, lost in admiration of the horizon since shelter opened its doors. Her life finally seemed to align perfectly. She dedicated herself to managing the project, yet she consistently carved out time for serene moments like this. John stood at the threshold, observing her from afar for a brief moment, before making his way over without his jacket. His white shirt rolled up at the sleeves. He exuded a more laid-back vibe than he typically did. "What thoughts are crossing your mind?" he inquired, taking a seat next to her. Leah smiled gently, her gaze lingering on the heavens above. "Life has transformed remarkably in just a few months. Everything feels incredibly dreamlike," John observed her quiet L for A moment before grasping her hand. "It has transformed positively, and you are the catalyst for this change." Leah faced him, was taken aback by the sincerity in his tone. "Who, me? I believe you are the catalyst behind it all." "No," he replied, shaking his head. "You illuminated my existence, Layla. Before you, my world was filled with figures, agreements, and transactions. You has revealed to me the essence of what truly counts." Layla sensed her heart quicken. John seldom conveyed his emotions in such a manner, and receiving those words filled her with a genuine sense of uniqueness. "John," she started, but he cut her off. Leaning in closer with a gentle smile, he leaned in and kissed her softly, conveying that words were unnecessary. The kiss was soft yet charged, as if they were striving to convey all their emotions in silence. As they separated, Leah leaned her forehead against his and offered a smile. "Your presence creates a sense of singularity, as if I am the sole focus of your attention." "Perhaps you are," he responded, gazing into her eyes. The subsequent days unfolded with a series of comparable instances. John dedicated time to Lila, whether it was by assisting at the shelter or orchestrating little surprises. One weekend, he whisked her away to the countryside, where they found a hidden cabin nestled among the mountains and rivers. On that initial evening, as they gathered around the crackling fire outside the cabin, John wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin gently resting on her shoulder. "Can you believe I've never felt this level of happiness before?" he spoke in a gentle whisper. Layla pivoted to meet his gaze. "Is that so?" she inquired, arching an eyebrow. "Truly, you introduced an element into my existence that I never realized I needed," she chuckled softly. Yet the depth in her gaze revealed the significance of his words to her. "You also brought me something, tranquility." They shared another kiss, and that evening beneath the stars they conversed about their aspirations, anxieties, and the future they envisioned creating side by side. Several months passed, and John concluded that it was the perfect moment to elevate their relationship to new heights. He envisioned a charming, even at 4 inches below the residing, the very lakeside restaurant where they had shared their inaugural dinner together. Yet on this occasion, he envisioned something far grander. Lila felt a wave of astonishment as John arrived with a bouquet in hand, whisking her away to the restaurant. The setting was exquisitely adorned with flickering candles and gentle lights dancing upon the surface of the lake. The dinner unfolded beautifully, yet she couldn't help but observe that John appeared unusually anxious, a stark contrast to his typical demeanor. As dessert came to a close, he rose and softly grasped her hand. "Leah, there's something I must express," he started. Her gaze was filled with intrigue as he retrieved a small box from his pocket. "In recent months, you've revealed to me the true essence of existence. Being with you brings a sense of ease, clarity, and joy." As he lifted the lid of the box, a delicate diamond ring was unveiled, glimmering with an exquisite brilliance. Layla read, "Will you be my girlfriend for?" A brief moment, she found herself at a dimly loss for words, but then her face lit up with a broad smile. "Absolutely, John." He gently placed the ring on her finger, and they shared a kiss as the other diners erupted in applause. In that instant, Lila sensed that her existence was whole. Their connection deepened further. They enjoyed delightful, uncomplicated moments such as preparing meals together in the grand kitchen or cozying up on the couch for movie nights. Layla cherished the way John appeared transformed in their private moments, exuding a sense of ease and authenticity. He, in turn, cherished the way she brought laughter into his life, a rare occurrence for him. In the past one evening, as they wore the worries of the same collaborated in the kitchen, Layla endeavored to impart a recipe she had picked up at the shelter to John. The bumbling chef managed to scatter flour across the counter and inadvertently dusted Leah's hair in the process. "John," she exclaimed, feeling distress. "I apologize," he chuckled, but upon seeing her dusted in flour, he burst into even louder laughter. She scooped up a handful of flour and tossed it at him, and soon enough they were both in fits of laughter, scrambling to tidy up the chaos. It was a quiet instant, yet brimming with affection and togetherness. Several months passed and JN concluded that the moment had come to advance to the next stage. He envisioned a journey to a hidden beach where he aimed to pop the moment was meticulously crafted, a romantic dinner by the sea at sunset, just the two of them, accompanied by the soothing sound of waves in the background as the sun sank beneath the horizon. John clasped Lila's hand and gazed deeply into her eyes. "Leah, you were the most incredible thing that has ever come into my life." He retrieved a tiny box from his pocket and sank to his knees in the sand. "Your presence has illuminated the essence of love, and the beauty of being cherished. Life without you is beyond my comprehension. Would you do me the honor of becoming my spouse?" Layla covered her face with her hands, tears flowing down her cheeks. "Absolutely." John, without a doubt, yes. He gently placed the ring on her finger, leaning in to kiss her as the sun sank below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the scene. The moment was exquisite, brimming with affection and the allure of future possibilities. Not long after they started to organize their wedding, they opted for a choice that was straightforward yet significant. The gathering took place at the shelter, attended by its residents and staff as honored guests for Lila. It seemed fitting the shelter represented fresh starts for countless individuals, herself included. On their wedding day, John felt a surge of emotions as he saw Lila approach, adorned in a simple yet elegant white dress. She exuded a captivating glow, and he realized he had never encountered anyone quite so enchanting. "You look incredible," he murmured as she approached the altar. "And you're on the verge of becoming my husband," she said. With a smile, their vows resonated deeply, overflowing with affection and appreciation. As they exchanged vows, the room erupted in applause, and their kiss signified the beginning of a beautiful new chapter together. Months following the wedding, while they were busy crafting plans to expand the shelter, Leah started to observe some shifts. She sensed an unusual fatigue creeping in, leading her to question what might be amiss. Upon taking a pregnancy test, her doubts were validated. She was expecting. She devised a unique method to reveal the news to JN that evening. As they sat down for dinner, she presented him with a small box containing a note. Within, JN opened it and absorbed the message. "I can't wait for you to meet our baby." He blinked several times, a look of confusion crossing his face before coming to the realization of its significance. His eyes grew large and he turned his gaze toward Lila. "Could it be that you are expecting?" he inquired, his tone brimming with feeling. She nodded with a smile. "Indeed, JN, we are expecting a little one." He rose from his seat, circled the table, and enveloped her in a warm embrace. "That's truly remarkable." He pressed his lips against hers, repeatedly grappling with the weight of the revelation. "You have truly brought unparalleled joy into my life." Leah chuckled, her feelings spilling over. "Are you prepared for this with you? Alongside me, I'm prepared for whatever comes our way." That evening they engaged in a conversation about what lay ahead, envisioning the experience of nurturing a child side by side. Jay's smile was infectious, and for the first time, Leah sensed that every aspect of her life was perfectly aligned. As JN and Lila held each other close that night on the mansion sofa, an unspoken understanding passed between them. They had navigated a myriad of challenges to arrive at this moment. The past had ceased to cast its shadow over them, while the future shimmered with hope and potential. Leia nestled her head against JK's chest, attuned to the steady cadence of his heartbeat. Seems we've truly discovered our home, John, he grinned and pressed his lips gently to the crown of her head. Indeed, Leia, and this is merely the start. In the warmth of that moment, they both understood they were prepared to confront anything side by side. How do you feel about Jay's behavior towards Leia? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please provide a rating for this story on a scale from 0 to 10. How would you rate it? Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our captivating stories. Don't forget to explore more uplifting stories by This Is Not Taken Place, clicking here on the end screen.